Hey guys, welcome to week 12. Going to be a little lighter on videos this week, so there's a lengthy playoff primer discussion, and the sooner that I get this done, the sooner I can go back to playing Red Dead Redemption. This week's top score and biggest blowout, Drew's Undercooked Burger knocks off Alex's Funkle Up 166.9 to 101.7. Kristen McCaffrey, have yourself a game. 44.2 points to lead the Burgers to the win. 37 points from Amari Cooper, 23 points from Big Ben, and 23 points from the Baltimoreans defense brought Drew some good luck this week.
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons.
Alex got 34 points from Juju Smith-Schuster, 20.6 points from Phil Rivers, and 18.6 points from Zach Ertz. Having Kareem Hunt on a bye and missing out on a single point by subbing in Jarvis Landry was the only ding on Alex's performance this week. In the closest game, Chris's brown-eyed monster locks in the number one overall seed by taking down Derek's Gurley's Gone Wild, 137.5 to 136.2. In what could be a championship preview, but will most likely be a third-place preview, this was a heck of a close game.
I say what I want, James, because I got a pair of balls, not two pieces of pussy.
How long is this going to happen for?
For as long as it takes. Sports Desk will take as long as it takes. Sports Desk. Fuck yeah.
Chris had four players score between 21 and 19 points, led by Julio Jones with 21.3. Derek had four players score between 26 and 21 points, led by Jameis Winston and Zeke Elliott with 25.8 each. Derek may have had the higher scoring overall players, but Chris's squad had better depth, with his lowest scoring players putting up 9 and 11 points compared to the 2 points that Derek got from tight end Greg Olsen and the 4 points that he got from Deshaun Jackson. David Njoku was sitting on Derek's bench, could have swung this matchup, but Derek's tight end roulette game finally bit him in a matchup where it mattered. In other games this week, Brandon's Once in a Generation knocks off Josh's I Win Cause Y'all Drafted 106.14 to 77.86. Brandon's Browns led the way with Nick Chubb putting up 26.3 points and Baker Mayfield adding 26 as well. He also got double-digit games from Gus Edwards, Jonnu Smith, and Marlon Mack.
Oh, you know us. We're a Major League Baseball team.
But since we haven't won a pennant in over 30 years, nobody recognizes us. Not even in our own hometown.
For Josh, he got 20.44 points from Drew Brees and double-digit games from Chris Carson, Kenny Galladay, and the Tampa Bay defense. Low performances from Cole Beasley, Jalen Richard, and Jimmy Graham kept you from keeping this matchup close. Nick's Ducius of T-Bjork defeats my Justin Tucker Must Die 141.5 to 117.6. Nick got a pair of 26-point games from Lamar Miller and Andrew Luck, and a trio of 19-point games from T.Y. Hilton, Tyler Lockett, and Matt Breida. I got 24 points from Leonard Fournette before he got ejected in the third quarter, and 19.6 from Melvin Gordon before he got hurt in the third quarter.
I thought our guys played well down the stretch, but it's a four-quarter game.
I think I could have gotten close to a win if I did the math right here. If I had subbed in Demaryius Thomas for Cortland Sutton and New England in for Jacksonville's defense, it would have been enough to win by about a third of a point.
Missed it by that much.
Pope 2.0's Drunk Choir Boys defeats Lee's I Want Some Butts 133.42 to 95.6. Deshaun Watson led the Drunk Choir Boys with a 29.4-point game on Monday Night Football. Sony Michel chipped in 24.5 points, along with 19 from Joe Mixon. For Lee, Adam Thielen led all scoring with 25.5 points for Lee's team, followed up by 16.4 for Josh Adams and 15.4 from Devontae Adams. Adams, and Adams. Starting a new law firm here, or what? Finally, Pope 1.0's I'm Ready to Pump knocks off Jason's The Hammock District 127.75 to 122.5. For Pope 1.0, Kirk Cousins' domination of the Green Bay Packers led the team with 30.4 points, supported by three solid games from Stephon Diggs with 19, Aaron Jones with 16.8, and Keenan Allen with 16.7. He needed all of it to hold off Jason, as Jay got the top scoring game in this matchup from Saquon Barkley with 32.7 points. The San Francisco defense also cost Jason this win, as they only put up 2 points in the loss to Tampa, where they allowed Jameis Winston to put up 27 points and only managed 1 sack and no interceptions off Winston, the turnover machine. He's only started 6 games this year, and yet he's 5th in terms of most interceptions this year so far. This week's wager board, Nick may have bested me in fantasy football, but my fantasy hockey knowledge saved the day as we split our matchups this week. On a side note, my hockey win was a bigger margin of defeat than Nick's football win, by about 2%. So I'm saying that I won overall. Definitely. All right, it is the last week of the regular season, so here is the playoff picture primer. First, I'm going to show on screen. Here are the projections to show what the calculator still thinks are going to happen. You should be able to see that on the screen now. Chris locks in the number 1 seed. Drew jumps over Derek for the second bye at the moment, but they're both in for sure. So that means there's 3 spots left. Myself, Nick, Alex, Jason, Lee, and Pope 2.0. So here's the actual calculations that I actually did when I went through and looked at the matchups. The 2 biggest matchups in terms of playoff positions this week are Alex versus Scott and Nick versus Jason. Up at the top left, you can see I've got it depending on who wins. So let's assume for the first, and then depending on who wins will be the 4, 5, or 6 seed because the top 3 are already locked into place. Let's say Alex and Nick both win. Some combination of those 2 are going to be the 4 or 5 seeds. Right now the points are too close to say who it's going to be. I would drop to the 6th seed because I'll be tied with everybody else, but I'm going to win it based on points. Armageddon scenario, which would be the B scenario, is listed in green here, where I would win and Jason would win. Then I'll be the only team at 7 and 6, and then there will be 5 or 6 teams at 6 and 7, depending on what everybody is. Jason in that scenario would likely be the 5 seed, and then the 6 seed is wide open. Yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like. Jason has to win in order to get in, and he's got a decent chance of doing that if he wins. Lee and Eric both need to win this week. If they don't win, they can't get in there at 5 and 7. They have to get to 6 and 7 in order to even have a shot. So that was what was going on for the main playoffs. For the Deuce playoffs, there are still some things in play there as well. The 2 byes are still up in the air. There are currently 3 teams at 4 and 8, with 2 of them are going to get a bye. Scott B and Brandon are playing this weekend. The loser of that matchup is 100% going to be a bye. Josh currently plays number 1 overall seed Chris.
Yikes, yikes, yikes.
And if Josh should get a win there, he still may end up as the 2nd bye, just because of how few points he scored. If Chris wins, Josh and then the loser of Brandon and Pope 1.0 will be the Deuce byes. We don't really need to talk about notable matchups this week. I've kind of covered that as we've gone along here. Nick's stat corner. Drew notches his 8th weekly high score, and it's his 3rd one this season. So with that 3rd one this season, he joins myself and Chris in the 3 high score clubs so far this season. This upcoming week is the last chance for a high score this year. In the regular season, we'll see if one of the 3 of us can break the tie or if somebody else will get in on that action. The average weekly high score this year is about 20 points higher than last year's number. Nick screwed up Drew's regular season wins. This makes your 35th win all time. I think he had that a little bit higher, depending on where you might see those numbers or not. He had 1 game listed wrong from last season. With my loss to Nick this weekend, Nick was nice enough to point out the Scots are fairly mediocre, as we now have 3 5 and 5 matchups. For Scott B, his 3 and 5 matchups are Scott M, Chris, and Josh. For myself, it's Scott B, Chris, and Nick. Drew moves to 2-0 all-time against Alex. Eric stays perfect against Lee. He's 6-0. Lee's now 0-14 if you go versus Chris and Eric. Chris keeps beating Derek 8-2 all-time. Chris ties the longest winning streak in league history, 1 more to break it and clinch the best regular season ever. A notable thing that Nick didn't have listed here that I actually noted was that Chris and Josh play each other this week. There's a possibility that neither long streak will ever be broken and you'll both just tie it. If Josh wins this weekend, he will snap his losing streak at 7 and snap Chris's winning streak at 10. Chris now holds the most points in a regular season, passing my old mark set in 2014 of 1,629.85. And no one is in danger at this point of matching the lowest scoring or beating the lowest scoring season ever. Good luck to all of you, and in the final week of the regular season, and one special shout out, Lee, this is your last chance. If you don't make the playoffs, you're not going to have another chance this season to get some cash. So we'll have to go through this whole thing again next year. I would really like to see you get a high score this week, buddy. Good luck.